Yo, what it do, everybody? Your favorite anti-hero is back with another video. For those that don't know me, I am the Pepperoni, and here, I don't typically like to throw shade, but I do enjoy sprinkling pepper. Because I care. Today's video is going to be a book review, and it's going to be the first book of a trilogy. Today's book is Montenegro Book 1, Cemetery Candles, by the author Estela Vasquez Perez. Before I say anything, let's just take a moment to appreciate this cover. I mean, the cover of these books in this trilogy are just awesome. I don't know who did the cover designs, if it was this Erica lady or if it was 99 Designs. Maybe Erica works there, but whoever made the cover, you're really good. And whoever that compliment is entitled to, enjoy it. Now, from the cover, you might assume that this book is about this gentleman on the front. You also might make the assumption that maybe it's about this Montenegro individual. On the back, it says Victor Montenegro, a masculine name, so perhaps that's the name of this individual. If you make that assumption, you're correct. That is the name of this individual. But here's the interesting thing. This book, this individual book, this isolated book, book 1, is not about this individual. This book is actually about a woman named Suzette Severiot, who comes to the New World, to the Louisiana Territory, controlled by France at the time in the 1700s. The bulk of this story follows her life in New Orleans, or New Orleans, or Nolans, depending on who you ask. On the back, there's an interesting thing. There's actually two different little blips there, two little paragraphs. You don't really need the top one. It's not important. The top one talks about the first 63 pages, which really don't matter. You could just tear those out of the book, throw them away. The book actually begins in chapter 5, and that's where we really get to be introduced to Suzette. So, yeah. Now, I will admit, I've never read, prior to this book, a book that is a, quote, romance/gothic story. And so it was a hard shift for me. I can only assume that this is the standard. And so, if you have not read romance stories or gothic stories, you're going to have a bit of a shell shock when you first try to read this, because apparently in those genres, you don't really have to have like a main character, and you don't really have to have a plot, and you don't really have to have a goal or a inciting incident. You basically just need a lot of people and a lot of romantic drama. And see, I didn't know that going into this story, and it kind of messed me up for a while. And it might mess you up too. In fact, when you read this story, if you've never read a romance novel or a gothic novel, you might feel compelled to jot down a note halfway, in the story, halfway into the story there, that says something along the lines of, there is no plot in this book. There is no main character of this book. There is no inciting incident of this book. The first 60-some pages introduce one story without a conflict, and the assumed main character is a woman named Valentina, not the man on the cover. And then the next 60-some pages introduce a second story without conflict, and the assumed main character is a different woman named Suzette. There is no goal of these people. This is just snapshots of their lives. However, if you do feel compelled to write such a note in this book, it's only because you haven't read far enough into the book. Because you see, on page 136 out of 266 pages, it is confirmed that what you read about on page 124, which is chapter 15, the contents of that chapter is actually the inciting incident. And then on page 156, we realize that there is indeed a plot, a goal, if you will, which is further elaborated on page 161, at which point we can confirm that this story does indeed have a main character. As I said, it is Suzette Savariet. Now, Suzette Savariet is an interesting character. The author, I really got to hand the author a round of applause because, when you're writing a story and you're writing a character, you're creating a character, I should say. You want this character to instill some type of emotional reaction in the audience, good or bad. As long as the readers can remember that character, the author has done their job. And the author, Estela Vasquez Perez, certainly did her job. Because I'll probably never forget this character, Suzette Savariet. Because you see, the main character, let's just say, she should be on her hands and knees praying to God Almighty, thanking Him that she never crossed paths with the little robot named Wally. Because if Wally ever caught a glimpse of the main character of this book, he would give into an uncontrollable urge to murder her in one of the most horrific ways possible by compacting her into a very small cube. This book, technically, I guess, isn't historical fiction, but it kind of is. It takes place in historical time period, and it references historical events, but it has fictional elements to it. As the characters go about their day, being in love with random people, you will come across werewolves in the story. You'll come across vampires in the story. And there'll be even references to witches in this story. There's even a supernatural element to the story, which kind of references the live existence of the devil. And perhaps we'll see the devil in future books. I'm not sure. But, there's still 2 more. And if that's the case, maybe we'll see angels too. Maybe God will speak. I'm not sure. That's totally just me guessing. I don't know. Now, being a book review, I'm trying to stay as positive as I can and not point out any kind of issues I might have found, possibly. But there is one thing that I do want to say in the book review about this, and that is that this is not a contained story. So this is not a standalone book that you can buy and read and you can get something from it like, oh, well, that was an interesting story. I understand that there's 2 additional stories that add on to it, but I don't want to pursue them. You can't do that. With this is part of a story. And so it doesn't just end with a conclusion. When you finish the last line, there's no satisfaction. It forces you to have to buy the next book in the series to see what happens next. A lot of readers don't like that, but That's the case here. It is incredibly hard to come up with a truly unique story. Some people say it's impossible. I don't believe that. You certainly can come up with truly new stories. But in this regard, these are very common things, werewolves and vampires. So, you know, it is what it is. But there is a unique take. There's some unique elements in this story that you have to applaud the author for. I'm not going to go into them here, keeping it spoiler free, but it is nice to see um, the werewolf and vampire elements being portrayed in a way that it's not something that you just see in books and movies that are out there. However, being romance, humans, werewolves, vampires, love triangles, you know. If I had to compare this story to some other kinds of stories, I would say it's like a cross between the movie Love Actually, the series Twilight, and probably the TV show Black Sails. That kind of encompasses the general grand scope of this story. Now, some stories they have what's called the love triangle, and then there's other stories out there in the world that have what I call the love dodecahedron. They are essentially stories that are like spider webs of this person loves this person, and this person loves that person, and that person loves this person over here, and this person is loved by two different people, but that person is not important, and this person is sort of important because this person is actually in love with this person over here, but that person doesn't love them. They actually love the first person, but the first person who loves that other person over there is being stalked by this person who is in love with this person over here, who was previously married to this person over here, but that relationship didn't work out because that person was in love with this person over here who we never meet. Those stories exist in the world, and if you're interested in those stories, I know of a good book that you should pick up at Amazon right now. If this book sounds interesting to you, be sure to go to Amazon.com, purchase yourself a copy in the ebook format, or get yourself a nice glossy paperback, which looks great. And even if you happen to hate the story, it's going to look damn good on your shelf. So that's a plus. Even if you don't like it, there's still a positive. But I don't think you're going to hate it. I know I've had fun reading it. I'm really going to have fun roasting it. So you can go to Twitter and you can follow the author, Estela Vasquez Perez. She's pretty nice. She's pretty interactive. She'll comment. She'll be friendly. She's not like some authors who are fucking assholes and don't ever associate with the people who buy their books. So that's a plus. Bye.